What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now Plus. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about a couple news stories going around for The Last of Us Part 2 today. I haven't watched the Grounded 2, right, the making of Last of Us Part 2. I haven't watched it yet, and many people online, right, saying just how good it was, and I believe it. I believe it's good, and saw a lot of people saying, hey, this is something you could watch, even if you didn't like the game, just to kind of, get a look behind the scenes. But I want to focus in on two kind of viral moments, I guess, that, it went viral, and I saw it without having, watched the entire thing. So there was the Neil Druckmann line on that there's probably another story to tell, or like one more story to tell, indicating, Last of Us Part 3. We'll spend very little time on this because, look, we've talked about it many, many times, and there has been leaks, there has been rumors that they're literally working on The Last of Us 3 right now. I fully believe that. I believe they should probably do other stuff too, and it sounds like they are, right? It sounds like they're working on at least two things at the same time, and one of it is The Last of Us Part 3. The other one is probably a new IP. Okay, so you kind of, I don't know if you get best of both worlds. I know The Last of Us is so divisive, with Part 2. I get that. I understand that. But you do get the final act, the closing chapter, and you also get, something new. So we have that, and I think that's a sign. I think that was him hinting at it, right? Even though literally he does say probably, right? Not for sure, not, hey, I do, like, we are doing it. We're in the midst of doing it right now. He doesn't say that, but he says probably, which is close enough, right, for the vast majority of the internet. The other part I want to talk about, and I want to be careful how I say this because we have talked about certain things like this in the past, and I want to kind of like clarify things. So I want to talk about the Laura Bailey thing that went viral, which was basically threats against not just herself, but also her newborn son, who was born, I think, right before, or maybe even during the recording process for Last of Us Part 2. So this was a part of the documentary where they were talking, and I think there's a whole part of it, too, talking about, like, what the leaks did to them, right? But she was talking about, the Abby situation and what that kind of did to her. So here's what I want to say. And, again, I've said some of these things like on Twitter before, on YouTube, and I think there's nuance involved to it. I don't like throwing it out there and saying, like, hey, be better. And I think people take an opportunity like this viral clip to do it. Now, let me kind of explain, right? I think that behavior is terrible. To go after anybody to that degree is insane to me, just on its own, okay? I understand not liking games. I understand liking games, and I stood up for people, I think, when the game came out, and I still stand up for people to this day who say they don't like the game. I think you have every right to. I think there is, valid is a little subjective in this case, but I think if you didn't like the decisions they made to the game, I think that's totally fine. I really don't see a problem with it. I personally had a lot of problems with what they did, to the story, okay? And I also respect the other side. If you like this game, if you love it, that's totally, totally cool. I think you should have the right to express, your thoughts on it. But one thing I've always tried to be very, vocal on is I feel like there's absolutely a line, right? Or there's a certain point where you can go to, and then you probably shouldn't go past a certain point. So even, hey, making videos, making posts online, talking about what you did or didn't like in a game, I think that's totally fine. Social media is social media. We have these avenues to kind of discuss amongst each other, and, hey, maybe even the companies see it. Maybe they take away something productive from it, right? So, and I believe in, like, constructive criticism, not just saying, like, hey, it's garbage, do better. Well, how about you find some way, maybe give them an example of what they could do better, right? So that's kind of where I've always stood on, and so again, just to throw it out there, like, the people that did this to Laura Bailey, right, like, they're scum of the earth. But I guess what I want to get deeper in and why I want to make this video, I think, there's more to it. And I think you can't use this example to just say, oh, the gaming community is complete trash, right? Because I'm seeing so much of that today. And I know there's like a narrative where it's like, well, hey, if you say certain things, you defend certain things, well, then you are those people. I think that's garbage. Everybody's, kind of unique in their own way. And just because you agree, say, with one thing one person says, doesn't mean, you agree with everything that person says. I think to lump the gaming industry, and developers do this quite often. Developers will basically like send screenshots and stuff of like, hey, look at these, threats I'm getting on DMs. And it's believable. It definitely does happen. I feel bad for them, right? It's definitely a stupid thing that happens that I don't understand why people actually do it. But to lump in everybody and say like, hey, you all have to do better, The true, I mean, this is honest, okay? The true reality is this is just like a fragment, a very small fragment of people. I think there's definitely like maybe like a hate mob kind of thing that say people that like make video after video after. I mean, I make many videos on many games, right? Say you make like 50 videos that are all negative on The Last of Us Part 2. There's that, and, you know, people will maybe agree with it, maybe disagree with it. I think generally that is a looked down upon thing to do, okay? But I think that is probably right up against that line, okay? I think you can do that. You know, if you have 50 video ideas of all negative things to say, that's probably overboard, but you know what? You can do it. As long as you're not taking that one more step over, which would be this kind of stuff, right? Going after them in DMs and telling them to, you know, do things to themselves, and then telling her, you know, about her child. It's like, well, you know, what is wrong with people? But again, I want to be careful because the fact is, I really think it's a small group. And I also, here's the thing too. Here's what I've actually really started to realize over the past, like, maybe even since Last Was Part 2 in general. These people do not care. So when you say to people, hey, do better, right? Be better. Don't treat people like this. Those people that actually do it, they are not listening. They are not in the group you're talking to. So when you say, hey, I'm disappointed in you guys, you throw out like that general statement, I'm disappointed in you guys, I'm disappointed in gaming, or the, you know, gaming industry, gamers. The people that actually do this are not part of that. They're not actually there looking at your tweet. They are in their own little thing doing the things that you're complaining about. Now, I think it's valid complaints, and I guess you could say, well, what do you expect them to do? It's fair. It's fair. Like, you know, and I've never had that happen to me. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're Laura Bailey and you're receiving this stuff, and, you know, you say what you said in the video, and actually what she said is not, like, she didn't actually say anything bad. I saw the response to it, right? So you have what she said, and then the response to it is like, hey, this is disgusting. And it is disgusting. It is bad. But then when you spin it to say, hey, we need to do better. Well, when you say we, you're not actually talking to the people that did it to her, okay? And I think that's what a lot of people that do that, I think that's what a lot of people are missing, to be honest with you. And I think it takes some time to kind of like notice that, but the people that go that far and are that mentally unstable that they, you know, because normal people do not do that. Truly, normal people don't do it. And I think that's sometimes forgotten. Sometimes it's forgotten that most of us don't participate. I think most of us, actually, most people don't say anything. Most people bought The Last of Us and either liked it or didn't. And I always bring, like, there's friends of mine that bought it that are not in videos. They're not on social media. They don't watch my stuff. They don't watch anybody's stuff. And they either liked it or didn't like it. And I've had conversations with them. That is most people. Most of the millions upon millions that got this game, most of them remain silent. They, in their own heads, liked it or didn't like it, but that's as far as it went. Then you have the people online, like you and me, and maybe even further along, right? So people like me creating content on it, so that's another step. And then you have the people that took it all the way to going, like, you know, messaging these people and telling them things directly. There's really no reason to ever, you know, even do, I mean, maybe messaging the person to say, hey, you did an awesome job. Like, you know, your role really spoke to me, you know, things like that. Maybe you can do that. But, you know, going so far to message the person and threaten them, there's literally no need. It should never get that far. Again, you can have problems with it, but as we just talked about, I think the people that have problems with it, they don't go that far. That is a select, you know, kind of fringe, I guess, minority, right, group that does that. They have problems with it, and that's fine to have problems. It's fine to not like Abby. You can hate Abby. Like, because it doesn't actually matter, right? You can hate Abby, and you could tweet it. I hate, you know, the character of Abby's terrible. You can, like, be productive about it and talk about why she's bad and what they can do to fix her. You could do that. Or I guess you can, well, you shouldn't do what these people do. Then you could reach out and say, well, let's directly not just tell you how bad Abby is, but now let's go after the person who, like, let's go after Laura Bailey herself. There's no need to take that jump, right? But again, very few people, I think, actually do that. It's sad to see. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.